Schumer, Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. Let me just start out. Do you think it's a good thing that Maduro has been removed from office?
Look, Maduro's a horrible, horrible person. But you don't treat lawlessness with other lawlessness. And that's what's happened here. The American people this morning, George, are scratching their heads in wonderment and in fear of what the president has proposed. The United States will run Venezuela. We have learned through the years when America tries to do regime change and nation building in this way, the American people pay the price in both blood and in dollars.
You heard Secretary Rubio there. He says the United States has the authority to do what they're doing.
They do not. They do not.
Why not?
He couldn't even answer your question. There is no authority to go. They did not just do ships off the water. They went inside Venezuela, bombed civilian as well as military places. And it's a violation of the law to do what they did without getting the authorization of Congress.
All right, family. So let's talk about this wild backfire that just hit the Democrat Party right upside the head. And I'm talking full-blown meltdown over something that deep down they actually agree with, but now they got to pretend like they don't. Why? Because Trump did it. That's it. Trump derangement syndrome, and that's the whole reason. So here's what went down, plain and simple. Trump just captured and arrested Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro, right? A narco-socialist who's been running Venezuela like a cartel boss, starving his people, rigging elections, flooding the world with drugs, you name it. So now you think everybody will be clapping, right? Like finally this dude's out of here. But nope, the Democrats are fake crying, acting like this is the worst thing ever. And I told y'all this was gonna happen. I said it from the jump. They're gonna come out, get on camera, and say stuff they don't even believe. Just because it was Trump who did it. See, to them, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about what's good for America. It's about Trump bad no matter what. And I feel like the more they do this, this is the most anti-American thing ever, because we have a pro-American president, which I love. And shout out to him for actually prioritizing the American people and being American first. As always, when it comes to voting in these politicians and your president and local politicians and local legislators, they should be lobbying on your best interest and not worshiping their own ideologies. But not to say that the Democrat Party actually care about your best interest, but their own ideologies first and foremost. And it seems like forever. Because when we look at this thing, if Trump says the sky is blue, they'll say it's green. If Trump says water is wet, they'll say, nah, it's dry today. And that's literally how childish it's gotten. But here's the kicker. The internet is forever. And that's what they forgot. You know, we got receipts, we got videos, we got tweets, and we got these same Democrats just a few years ago saying Maduro gotta go. They was begging Trump to get rid of him during his first term. And they were mad he didn't move fast enough, right? So example, look at this clip from Chuck Schumer. This man literally said Trump wasn't doing enough to overthrow Maduro, right? I want you guys to check it out with no further ado.
It's about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
Fast forward to now, the same Chuck is crying on national TV saying Trump shouldn't have done it. Bro, like what? What do you want? Like from the man? Like make it make sense. And the only thing that makes sense is they never cared about Maduro. They just care about power. Because when they thought it made Trump look weak, they were all for regime change. But now that Trump actually pulled it off, Now it's a threat to democracy, quote unquote, and dangerous. Man, stop the cap. You look goofy. And don't even get me started with Kamala Harris, right? She has something to say. This woman wrote a whole essay, like a full blown college paper, trashing Trump for what he did in Venezuela. Said it wasn't legal, wasn't wise, said it's not going to make America safer, stronger. Fam, she literally said, "We seen this movie before. Wars for oils, wars for regime change that cost lives." Okay, Kamala. Like why do your own administration put why did your own administration put a $25 million bounty on Maduro's head last year? Like literally. I don't understand, right? The Biden Harris White House was like, we'll pay millions if somebody help us take this man down. So when they do it, it's fine. But when Trump does it and actually succeeds, oh no, it's World War III. So I want you guys to see what she had to say because her post was hilarious too. Like unintentionally funny because she said Trump is doing this to look like a strong man in the region. Like it's all ego. Girl, if that's true, then why are y'all mad he succeeded? You mad because it worked? You mad because he ain't just talk, he actually did something? Imagine you and your friend been trying to beat a video game boss for years, right? And you keep losing, and then your little cousins pick up the controller and beats it on the first try. Now you're throwing a fit because you ain't get the credit. That's what this looked like. Pure ego, pure jealousy in my eyes, right? So when you look at this post, it goes as it reads: Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. That Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator does not change the fact that this action was both unlawful and unwise. We've seen this movie before: wars for regime change or oil that are sold as strength but turn into chaos in America. American families pay the price. The American people do not want this and they are tired of being lied to. This is not about drugs or democracy. It is about oil and Donald Trump's desire to play the regional strongman. If he cared about either, he wouldn't pardon a convicted drug trafficker or sideline Venezuela's legitimate opposition while pursuing deals with Maduro's cronies. The president is putting troops at risk, spending billions, destabilizing a region, and offering no legal authority, no exit plan, and no benefit at home. America needs leadership whose priorities are lowering costs for working families, enforcing the rule of law, strengthening alliances, and most importantly, putting the American people first. Right? And she said, right, quote unquote, he has no exit plan, no legal authority, and he's putting troops at risk. Okay. But where was all this energy when y'all botched the Afghanistan withdrawal? Y'all literally left Americans behind. People died. The Taliban took over in 5 minutes. Where was the exit plan then? And wasn't Kamala the last one in the room when Biden decided to go through with that? She brags about that, but now she want to talk about Trump putting troops at risk. Man, please. Like, and she talked about enforcing the rule of law. Fam, y'all opened the border. Y'all opened the border. Kamala was literally the border czar. Remember that? And guess what? The border got wider. More drugs, more crime, inflation went up, food prices skyrocketed. You want to talk about helping working families? Bro, people can't even afford eggs. Remember? People can't afford eggs in the Biden administration. And here's where it gets even crazier, right? Because then you have Eric Adams, man. Eric Adams, the former mayor of New York. You know, he stepped down. Well, his term was over, I should say, not stepped down. But his term was over January 1st, 2026 of this new year because Zohran Mudami, the new elect, has taken place of mayor of New York. Right? He was voted in, he won the election, blah, blah, blah. So Eric Adams came out and basically said, nah, Kamala, you full of it. He pulled up his own receipts, reminded people that the same Biden administration, y'all put a $25 million bounty on Maduro's head. And now y'all want to act like y'all capturing him or act like capturing him, I should say, is unwise. He called it what it is, cynical and irresponsible. That's what the Democrat Party is right now. They don't believe anything. They just hate Trump. So as it reads, on January 10th, 2025, the Biden-Harris administration put a $25 million bounty on Nicolás Maduro for information leading to his arrest or conviction. Public safety is not a political game. You do not label a narco dictator one year and then pretend he is no longer a threat the next simply because a different president is in office. That is cynical and irresponsible. Maduro's drugs have killed thousands of Americans and continue to endanger our children. Imagine being a parent of 2-year-old Nicholas Felice Dominici, who died from fentanyl poison in a Bronx daycare, and watching this political theater. America is safer today because Maduro is no longer in power. Welcome to New York, Nicholas. Shout out to former mayor of New York, Eric Adams. And look, he even brought up the real tragedy that I just read to you guys, the death of a 2-year-old baby from fentanyl in a Bronx daycare. That fentanyl is coming from places like Venezuela, being trafficked by people like Maduro. And y'all going to defend that? Y'all going to act like this ain't a win just because Trump pulled the trigger. That's disgusting. And it doesn't stop there, right? Because we got Chris Murphy, another hypocrite, Democrat senator, got caught too. Because back in 2019, he tweeted that Trump should do something about Venezuela, right? Literally encouraged intervention. Now that Trump actually did it, man, oh man, looked like he saw a ghost when he got called out on CNN. But I want you guys to see the clip of Chris Murphy, family.
So over the past decade, Nicolás Maduro, the brutal dictator of Venezuela, has presided over a stunning collapse of the Venezuelan economy that has caused nearly 8 million Venezuelans to leave that country, most of which destined for the United States. Part of the reason why we saw 10,000 people showing up at the border every day last year, a number that the United States just can't handle with current resources because of the meltdown of the Venezuelan economy. And so it's no surprise that in the election that was held this week, Maduro clearly lost. The briefings that I've received today suggest that Maduro not only lost, he probably lost in a landslide and is attempting as we speak to steal the election. If he's successful, not only will Venezuela continue to spiral into political and economic chaos, but you will see more people come to the southern border. Maduro is now in a corner. We're working with our allies and our partners in the region to try to force him to accept the results of this election.
There you have it, folks. And that was 2024. But CNN is actually about to call this man out in 4K. He got caught. Started laughing nervously because he knows he got caught in 4K. And that's what happens when your whole political game is based on who does something, not what they do. Based on who does something, not what they do. If Trump does it, it's wrong. That's their only rule. So I want you guys to check it out, right?
In 2019, you wrote an op-ed and you called for Maduro to be gone. You said, let's get one thing straight. There should no longer be any debate about Maduro's lack of democratic legitimacy. The Trump administration is right to put restoring Venezuelan democracy at the center of our approach to this crisis. A return to a stable democracy is in the interest of the Venezuelan people and the United States and the hemisphere. We don't know what's going to happen with regard to the civilian leadership there. Tom Cotton was just here saying that he hopes that there are democratic elections. Isn't that what you want?
Well, the rest of that article right, was a criticism of President Trump's early moves to saber rattle around regime change. Listen, there are evil, brutal dictators all over the world. That does not give the American president the right to invade those countries, in large part because we have seen how this script plays out. I watched an interview with Senator Cotton. You asked him what the difference was between Iraq and Venezuela. He didn't say the difference was we aren't going to invade Venezuela like we invaded Iraq. He said that if we invade Venezuela, which may be part of the president's plan, it's going to go really well. over and over again, we have seen these warmongering neocons, many of which have influence in this White House, cheerlead us into war under the guise of removing a very bad man. That ends up getting a lot of Americans killed. And if this is really just about the oil, if this is really just about the natural resources, if this is just about getting a bunch of Donald Trump's
Family, let me break this down for the average person watching this. Imagine your house is on fire. Everybody agrees that the fire needs to be put out. Democrats say somebody got to put their fire out ASAP. Trump walks in with a fire extinguisher, puts the fire out, and suddenly these same people go, no, not like that. That was illegal. That was too fast. That was reckless. Meanwhile, your house is saved and nobody got hurt. That's exactly what this situation is with Trump and Venezuela. And some Democrats are even saying it out loud now. Behind the scenes, they're mad at their own party. And we'll get to that article later on in the video. But you got people texting journalists like, yo, I'm glad Maduro's gone, but now I got to pretend like I'm mad about it because the base will eat me alive. One dude even said, nuance is dead in politics. In other words, you can't tell the truth anymore. You either ride with the crazy far left talking points or they'll cancel you. Right? And that's what it is. And this dude is sitting here trying to walk back something that he obviously supports. It's cowardly and won't take accountability for it.
friends on Wall Street even richer. I don't think there's a single American family who would support having their son or daughter put into harm's way to defend the interests of Wall Street. This is once again American oil interests, American financial interests coming before the actual national security interests of the United States.
I do want to ask about a briefing that the Secretary of State and Defense held with senators. You were there last month about Venezuela. Can you talk about what they said and whether or not that actually bore out?
Well, I can certainly tell you the message that they sent was that this wasn't about regime change. I mean, they came to Congress and they literally lied to our face. They said this is just a counter-narcotics operation. This is about trying to interrupt the drug flow to the United States. Right around that same time, the White House Chief of Staff said publicly, if we ever had boots on the ground in Venezuela, of course we would have to come to Congress. Listen, there's no way to trust this administration. They aren't being straight with the American people. There isn't even a briefing scheduled for Congress next week to explain A, what happened, and B, what the plan is moving forward. But yes, I think everybody in that briefing heard the administration say, this is just a targeted counter-narcotics operation. This has nothing to do with regime change. They knew they weren't telling the truth in that room. Well, clearly this is wildly illegal. This is a president who has been operating illegally since he was sworn into office, stealing from the American people, seizing spending power.
What's illegal?
Now dragging America into a war overseas. The president cannot run a military operation of this size, cannot invade a foreign country without coming to Congress first, without allowing the American public to weigh in. America doesn't want this war. Nobody asked for this because it has nothing to do with American national security. And I think that's the most important conversation to have. Venezuela is not a security threat to the United States. They're not threatening to invade us. There is no terrorist group like Al-Qaeda operating there that has plans to attack the United States.
All right, fam, we heard enough, right? And all I'm going to say is this whole Democrat Party operates right now. They are empty suits. They're just puppets saying whatever they're told. You know what an empty suit is? Someone who looks like a leader on the outside, but there's nothing in there, no conviction, no backbone, no real values. Whatever the Democrat Party headquarters says today, they say it. Whether it makes sense or not, whether it contradicts their own history or not, it don't matter. Their whole mindset is if Trump's for it, we're against it no matter what. So even if Trump comes out and says something that they literally agree with yesterday or yesteryear, they'll flip instantly, and that's not leadership. That's cowardly. Like I said, that's weakness. These people should be ashamed because you're not standing on principle. You're standing on pettiness. You're not thinking about the country. You're thinking about clout, popularity, polls, and how Twitter is going to react, well, formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. And see, here's what an honest person would say. They would take accountability. Look, I might not like how Trump did it, but it's done, right? That's what grown folks do. That's why I say the grown folks are back in office. That's what people with integrity do. You give credit where it's due, even if it's your enemy. But these clowns, nah, they'll rather let the house burn down because they don't like the guy who brought the hose, right? They don't like the guy who brought the hose to put out the fire, right? I already gave y'all Afghanistan, right? Trump wanted to pull troops out, right? Biden wanted to pull troops out. I supported both of them. What I didn't support was the absolute clown show that happened when Biden actually did it. The whole thing was botched. Troops died. People were left behind. Billions of dollars of equipment left for the Taliban. It was a disaster. Now, if Trump had done it, would it have been perfect? Probably not. But based on what we're seeing now and based on how Trump's team just took down Maduro without a scratch, you can't tell me they wouldn't have handled Afghanistan better than Biden did. Be real. Be real down in the comments below. And like this video and subscribe if you're new to the family. If you got this far in the video, I appreciate you for rocking with me. But here's the thing. Consistency. I support consistency. The move, regardless of who does it, because the move itself was right when it comes to Venezuela and Maduro. And you can say, I like the goal, but not how it was done. That's honest, right? But what you can't do is support regime change and ask for regime change, put a $25 million bounty on dude's head, and then turn around and say, actually, we shouldn't have arrested him. What sense does that make? Like, that's like putting out a wanted poster for a criminal and then getting mad when the cops actually arrest him. What did you think was going to happen? You didn't want him captured? Then why you offer 25 million? Why your administration call him a narco dictator and put him on DA's most wanted list? But now that Trump's the one who pulled it off, now y'all fake outraged. Man, get out of here, man. These people don't got a soul. They're bought out. They're demonic. They lie for a living. They lie to your face and they act like you're crazy for remembering what they said in yesteryear or last week. And here's the wild part. Nobody died so far. Maduro's out and not one American life lost. So what are y'all actually mad about? Let's be honest. Deep down, these Democrats know this was always the plan. They knew getting rid of Maduro was necessary. The man was shipping fentanyl into the United States, starving his people, rigging elections, just pure evil. And now he's finally gone, but y'all pretend to be sad about it. Make it make sense. That's why I say it's fake outrage. It's disgusting. It's not about principles. It's not about human rights. It's not about democracy. It's about politics. That's all. Because if they really believed in democracy, they'll be cheering the removal of a literal dictator. But they ain't. They whining and complaining on CNN, trying to spin it like it's the end of the world just because the wrong guy took the W, right? And that's what I respect about Trump. And listen closely. He's honest. He don't sugarcoat it at all. He's like your literal pawpaw or pop-pop that's gonna keep it real, right? They live life, they live longer enough. Grown folk doing grown folk things, have experience, live life, and know how to lead, right? Yeah, we needed the oil. And you know what? That's better than lying and saying this is about freedom and democracy, while your policies say the exact opposite. So Trump said, yeah, we need the oil. At least Trump tell the truth, whether you like it or not. Because when leaders lie about why they do things, now we all confused. Are we helping Venezuela because of human rights? Or because we need the oil? Or because of the drug trade? Tell us the truth. Give us the full picture. But these Democrats, they gaslight you. They lie to your face. And then they act shocked when you call them out. And even our own party is getting fed up, right? And I want to get to that now. Look at this article. It looks weak, quote unquote. Dems fume at their party's response to Maduro capture. Some Democrats are grumbling at their party's largely oppositional stance to President Trump's raid to capture Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro, saying privately that their colleagues should be celebrating. Why it matters. These lawmakers argue it could be a major political miscalculation if the party fails to applaud the downfall of brutal dictator with sufficient value, even giving grave concerns about the operation's legality and long-term ramifications. Party leaders have raised their trumps for bypassing Congress and leaving them in the dark about the operation to capture Maduro, which involved striking several military targets in Venezuela's capital city. And many rank and file lawmakers, buoyed by polling that shows Americans largely oppose portrayed intervention in Venezuela, have also seized on Trump's comments that the U.S. will temporarily run the country, right? So what we're hearing, one swing district house Democrat told exes in a text message on Saturday, nuance is dead in politics. Quote unquote, Maduro is bad, glad he's gone. You can't have it both ways, a lawmaker said, venting that everything Trump touches must be bad according to the base. Another vulnerable House Democrat told exes in a phone interview, as Democrats, we can't just condemn what happened. I wish the Democrat Party would be a little bit more measured on this. Here we go. I think it looks weak, a third centrist House Democrat said. If you don't acknowledge when there is a win for our country, then you lose all credibility. I agree. Between the lines, it's not just about politics. The second lawmaker who spoke to exes noted that the Democrats widely condemned Venezuela's sham elections last year and have long advocated for democracy abroad. So there you have it, right? Their own party is starting to get fed up behind closed doors, and they're Democrats mad that their colleagues won't celebrate the win because they're like, yo, we got rid of a dictator. Why are we not hyping this up, right? And it's facts. If we don't call this a win, we lose our credibility. You can't have it both ways. Nuance is dead, as you guys see that they told exes, as we just read. You had Democrats condemning Maduro's fake elections just a year ago. Now he's out and y'all silent. Y'all scared of your own base. That's the real problem. The party is so captured by radical left-wing Twitter activists, they can't even tell the truth. They're afraid to say Trump was right on this one because they know they'll get called MAGA or get primaried by some socialists. And it's a shame, family. It really is a shame in regards to the matter, because not only you're selling out the American people and what you're supposed to be operating on the behalf of, and this is to show you that it's all nonsense, it's all a front, and it's all political games at the cost of American lives. And that's why I can't respect the Democrat Party, and that's why we have to get off of the Democrat plantation, and that's what it is. So when you really look at everything, this story, it shows you they actually don't care. Not about policy, not about the country, not about human rights. It's all about hating Trump, right? And I wanted to close with this post on X, right? I wanted to close with this post on X when it comes to the situation, because it says, warning for Dems. Let me zoom in. Warning for Dems. Any politician not unequivocally condemning Trump's illegal bombing, regime change, and occupation will be considered an enemy. You are diet MAGA dinos. We are taking names. You will lose your seat to somebody who actually gives us, you know what, about human rights and international law. And I agree. And when it comes down to this, that's exactly facts. It's facts, and the whole thing is facts, because that's the only principle these Democrats have left about hating Trump. And if hating Trump's mean pretending to defend a dictator, they'll do it. And if that doesn't disgust you, I don't know what will. And that's literally what it is. But when people are saying about, oh, Trump didn't go to Congress, Trump does not have to ask Congress first to start a military operation. But if he keeps U.S. troops involved, Congress have to prove it within about 60 days, right? That's a law called the War Powers Act. It basically says the president can move fast and send troops or launch an operation right away. No vote first, executive power, right? But he must tell Congress what he did. If U.S. forces stay in real fighting, then after 60 days, Congress has to say, yes, keep going, or no, bring them home. If Congress says no, the president is supposed to end the mission. So the 60 days is not a waiting period. It's a deadline for Congress to approve if something that already started. But what that means for Venezuela, Trump can start an operation quickly. Congress, can challenge it or stop it later if It keeps going, but it's not going, right? It's not continue to go because some members of Congress think capturing Maduro counts as war, as you're trying to see that these same hypocrites are saying, oh, it's going to be World War III, and don't want to give Trump the win for stopping a narco dictator, right? But when you really look at that is, he doesn't need Congress before acting, family. Only if fighting continues. And that's what a lot of people got misconstrued. There's no constitutional requirement that the president get Congress to approve recognizing or withdrawing recognition of a foreign government. That power is generally part of executive authority. So Trump can determine U.S. recognition of Maduro or another individual without a congressional vote, right? There you go. There you have it. And we got our fugitive, right? Nicolás Maduro. He was already convicted or indicted back in 2020. We just had to go pick up the fugitive. We picked up the fugitive with no other hairs touch on our chin. There was no bloodshed or anything. Thank God. And that's what it was. So we don't need Congress for that, okay? I want to debunk that because I'm getting tired of hearing that from these Democrats. But let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment, like the video, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks Democrats are standing on principle. Because after this, nah, they're standing on nothing. That's the fact. Catch you next one. Let the love supersede the hate. Spread the peace, love, and positivity. And as always, we having a conversation, family. Peace.